Hey guys, it's Lisa and welcome to this week's episode of the CODI cast. Today we are going to be talking about one of my personal favorite topics, the Metaverse and NFTs. And today I'm joined by the amazing Rach because Rach actually, like me, is very passionate about all things Web3, we like to call it. But I know that we've had quite a few interesting conversations around the Metaverse and NFTs already. So I'm excited to do a podcast about it. So welcome to the show, Rach.
Thank you.
I really feel like we need a studio audience. So, David, if you're listening, please make it sound like there's a million people tuning in and listening and watching us. But in terms of, firstly, I'm going to take a step back because I think a few people are hearing the term Web3, Metaverse, NFTs bandied around, especially in the world of marketing, and they're probably like, what on earth are people talking about? So I guess really briefly to summarize, well, how would you describe Web3? Because I think it's one of those terms that I think it's going to become more and more common.
Yeah, definitely. So if you have a look at, the first iteration of, even people call it sort of that Web 1, is the internet and how that sort of came out, and that online platforms in general. Then you had the second iteration, which is really sort of your social media platforms and things like that. You've got that Web 2. Now you've got Web 3. So that's really incorporating elements of the blockchain. You've got elements of augmented reality and people incorporating that into this third wave, which is going to be huge.
You're like an OG, I would say, of this Web3 world because you've been on crypto for a while. I still barely even can wrap my head around crypto. But when did you actually get into, I guess, this sort of Web3 space?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of crypto and blockchain, I've been talking about this before the Bitcoin,
cool.
the Bitcoin gold rush in 2017. Before that, so it's been really interesting, kind of watching this wave come through and develop. But really, over the last 12 to 18 months, this has really come out. And seeing a lot more people jump on the bandwagon and talking about NFTs and Web3 and the Metaverse. And yeah, probably over the last 18 months, we've seen a really big shift.
It's interesting because I would say one of the biggest hurdles to getting into Web3 a little bit more and things like NFTs, which we'll cover in a second, in the Metaverse, is that you need to have crypto. Most of the time. And that really probably held me off from buying an NFT, for example. I know that the other day I was trying to put some money onto my crypto wallet and it probably took me about an hour. And I just thought, why is this so hard? It's actually embarrassing. You know, you're old when you're really struggling with basic technology. But I guess just to take a step back, what is an NFT? Because, I mean, I'm obsessed with them, but I feel there's a lot of people who still don't know what an NFT actually is.
Yeah, so NFT stands for non-fungible token. People are probably going, what the hell is that? So the way an NFT works is you essentially can't copy it. You can't duplicate it. People can't steal it. And you might think, well, it's just an image on the internet. You can screenshot it. That might be the case, but technically you're not the owner. The person who actually owns that on the blockchain owns that NFT. And the way that it works is it holds a history of each person who actually owns that NFT. So obviously at the moment there's a lot of art that's being used as NFTs, but it doesn't just work like that. A lot of brands are starting to use it as tokens and rewards programs. Some people are using it as concert tickets and memorabilia. So it goes much beyond just an image on the internet.
That's a fantastic point that you raised because a lot of people think NFTs are just JPEGs, and there's a lot of scam projects out there, a lot of people trying to make a lot of money and get rich quick. But really, as you said, the concept of NFT just ties back to digital provenance and ownership. That's actually the value of an NFT. It could be a picture of a dog in a jumper, or it could have some sort of physical utility in the real world, but it's the ownership that's is it immutable on the blockchain? Like it can't be changed? Is that
Yeah.
what immutable actually means? I should probably look it up. Hopefully that was the correct usage. But it's that concept that it's there forever that is really valuable. And I know more and more brands are probably going to find different use cases for NFTs because like you said, I've seen concert tickets, I've seen loyalty programs, I've seen art, things like that. But we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to utilizing that technology for businesses. So I'm excited to see that evolve this year. And I was looking at the stats for the amount of NFTs traded in 2021 versus 2020, and it's just astronomical. Like it's chalk and cheese. I think it's something like 40 billion in transactions in 2021 versus something like 250 million in 2020. And to put it in perspective, the traditional art space traded last year, the market size around 50 billion. So it's catching up dramatically considering there's actually not even that many people trading versus how many people will be investing in traditional art. So very exciting space. So what are some of the interesting activations you've seen from a marketing perspective in this whole NFT metaverse space?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of brands jumping on the bandwagon. Even internally, we've got our clients who are working in the background to bring this to life. But even if you look at some of the bigger brands and, a little bit more unique. So if you look at, Nike, who have brought out sort of that as an NFT campaign. You've also got Jeffree Star Cosmetics, which is a bit of a unique one. They actually brought out some NFTs based around a new collection that they launched. You've got a lot of brands really looking at this.
It's actually interesting that you bring up Nike because I know that Nike and Adidas are really going head to head. I remember actually, I think years and years ago, Nike's I think it was like company vision was literally crush Adidas. That was it. It was really funny. So interestingly, Nike and Adidas are really going head to head in the metaverse. And I think that it's going to really be interesting to watch how they do this and how they make their way in the online world. So I've been talking to quite a few people who are a bit native in the Web3 space, and they've been saying that if you look objectively at both of their efforts, so if you look at Nike, they bought Artifact, which is a company that makes NFTs. How embarrassing, because I saw that there was like obviously an announcement everywhere saying they'd bought Artifact, which is spelled something like RTFKT. Obviously it's supposed to look like artifact when you pronounce it. But for ages, I thought it was wrecked. Like, what wrecked? And then I heard someone say artifact. I was like, oh, is that how you pronounce it? That's so embarrassing. Like I didn't say that out loud. So Nike bought Artifact. So they've obviously got intentions of releasing NFT shoes. They've also collaborated with Roblox, which is an online game, which is not actually, so it's a kids game and you can build on Roblox, and it's actually quite a unique gaming setup. So a lot of it's built by the community, which I think is really interesting. Going into the metaverse, it's all about community. It's like, that's pretty much going to be the determinant of whether your project's successful or not successful.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the community that has been built around Web3, even in the crypto space, and it's really changing how people, even within their networks and people and their wealth, and moving forward, tides will change in terms of that, and the same will be for brands. So the way that you actually act on the platforms within the space, that will determine how consumers and the audience and the communities on these platforms will actually interact with you. So I think that's a really, really good point in terms of how Adidas have tried to really enter the market and become part of that community. I think that's what a lot of brands need to take some inspiration from.
Absolutely. And also, I would say that big brands have an advantage when it comes to entering the metaverse because they have a following already. They have an audience they can market to. So Adidas can say to their audience, hey, everybody, we're going to release some NFTs, go and buy them. And then people will literally probably crash the website to go and buy them. But if you're trying to create an NFT project from scratch, which a lot of people are because they're trying to replicate the success of brands such as Bored Apes, CryptoPunks, then you're going to have to be invested in building that community. And it's looking at crypto, probably crypto platforms, or I guess the platforms of choice for crypto people, which would be Discord and Twitter. Because I think a lot of people are still used to talking online on Instagram when they're looking at brand promotion, but really that audience isn't on there. So you have to go where that audience is. So can you tell me what I honestly struggle so much with Discord. I'm like, why am I struggling so hardcore with this channel? It just does not seem native to easy to use to me. It's not intuitive. Do you find that?
I do find that it's it's not built like most platforms where you can interact with a brand. It is quite unique, and I think that that's something even that they've done on purpose to actually suit the people who are currently working in that Web3 space. But I think over time it will be developed even further.
Am I just getting old? Like I couldn't even get on Snapchat, honestly. I just thought I cannot handle one more platform and I just can't even work out how these snaps are working. So I'd never gone on to Snapchat and now I'm desperately trying to work out how to use Discord, but it's just honestly so overwhelming. I think even the way that I like to consume content, it's very different when I'm on a platform like Instagram or even LinkedIn. It's a little bit more controlled, whereas on Discord and Twitter, it just is like conversation. Like it's not even like a feed of carefully curated content. It's just like a whole lot of crap. So we have
it
to
is.
really...
There's so much to work through. But I think you have to look at, even when these platforms first came out, you look at TikTok. A lot of people originally went, what's TikTok? What is this? What's Instagram? What is that? Even for LinkedIn. And I think when this is something like anything, the barrier to entry is always higher in its infancy. And even though you've got billions of dollars being traded on these platforms right now, it's still in its infancy. I think what we'll see is that barrier to entry will lower as more people start to jump on the bandwagon.
So if you're looking to dip your toe in the water, I don't think it's just for rich people. I think there's a perception that maybe blockchain and crypto, it just seems almost like, is this just a rich person's game? But you can definitely ease your way into it and you don't have to spend a lot of money. So how can, say, if you're just new to Web3 and NFTs and crypto, what would you, and this is not financial advice, but what would you say would be some good tips for those people looking to dip their toe in the water?
Yeah, do your research. I think that's one of the really, really big things is do a little bit of research. You don't need to become an engineer or someone who's mining Bitcoin, but I think it's really important just to try and understand what's happening in the industry right now so you can start to wrap your head around what you're actually investing into. Then you can start to look at even these platforms, even these NFTs, and try to see what their utility is. If you're ever going to invest in an NFT, it needs to either have a utility that it's something that you feel that you can get something out of, just like Bored Apes, and we can talk about that. And it needs to be something as well that, it's something you enjoy, it's something you like. You might like a piece of art. You might like what the community is all about. So I think do your research and then stick to things that you find valuable or things that you enjoy.
Excellent. And on the topic of Bored Apes, that's one of the most successful NFT projects of all time. I think it is maybe the most successful NFT project of all time, but it's so interesting. You probably do a whole separate podcast on Bored Apes. I actually listened to one the other day and it's really interesting to see how it's really almost was built from people who were quite new to crypto and blockchain, and they maybe missed the boat with CryptoPunks and were a bit nervous to be newbies in that world, in the CryptoPunks world. So Bored Apes became almost like a separate community where people could really learn about this whole world of Web3 and do it in a way that like they weren't embarrassed because their knowledge was so new. And now it's just like they just sell for crazy amounts of money, like millions or thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But it, like you said, it's not actually the picture that is the valuable asset. It's access to the community and exclusive access to events or clubs or the right to even have your use your Bored Ape, and you get given the IP, so you can go and make merchandise with your ape, or you can go and do your own thing, which is quite different to, I guess, traditional types of ownership of assets. Like you can't really go and then, buy a Gucci bag and go, okay, cool, I'm going to make a whole brand based on Gucci. Like you don't own that IP. Whereas with the Bored Apes NFTs, you do. So what Adidas have done with Indigo Hertz, they're going to create a whole new line around that. So very, very interesting. Look, we could talk for ages, but unfortunately we've run out of time. So I think next steps will be for us to make a CODI coin.
Absolutely.
Or maybe an NFT. I need to reissue my NFT. I feel like I was really jibbed with my first NFT. So I was an NFT last year and I had the worst regrowth of all time because it was the middle of the pandemic. And now that's on the blockchain forever. So thanks. Thanks to the designer for designing my bloody regrowth into my pixel image.
That's the dark side of the NFT world.
Literally and figuratively. Oh, guys, you know what I'm trying to say. But thank you so much, Rach. I know that this area is going to keep booming, so I'm excited to do, some more topics or some more podcast episodes with you on this topic. But if you want to explore the world of NFTs and get help, you can reach out to us or our sister agency, Mooning. That is correct. It's not flashing your ass. It's like a good slang term. But definitely reach out to us if you want to learn more about the space and how we can potentially help you. We would love to talk and see how we can assist. But thanks again for listening, guys. You know the drill. Do the whole rating, review, like, follow, share, anything. And if you want certain topics covered, definitely feel free to slide into my DMs or Rachel's DMs. Keep it clean, nothing inappropriate. And we'll be back next time. See ya.